Thank you, Mr. Kratsios, for being here. Good to see you again. I'm a former OSTP staffer, and I think we transitioned our office to you when you first started in the Trump administration. So thank you for stepping up to serve again. And I know OSTP certainly is a very important place for this committee, and I appreciate all the work you've done for OSTP. One of the things that both of us have worked on is attracting really good tech talent to government. And whether it was the U.S. Digital Service or the Presidential Innovation Fellowship, and now I think, I don't know if you're involved in the U.S. Tech Force, but that's kind of the newest branding of essentially trying to get the people who can build an app to get your pizza in 5 minutes, to get you your Social Security benefits in 5 minutes, or help with some of these big issues in technology, both create standards as well as maybe help develop the basic research that private industry can use. But we're really concerned, some of my constituents, for instance, worked at NIST, and they fired over 400 employees. NSF has lost over a third of its staff. And so how do we figure out this project? Because we all agree here that technology and innovation is critical, and government plays a role in that. How do you reconcile trying to recruit for this U.S. tech force with the firings of technologists who I think are right now very nervous about working in government now?
Mm-hmm. I tend to kind of view those as separate issues. I think on the first one relating to bringing technical talent into government, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, we worked together on some of those issues, and I did throughout the first Trump term. I think what's unique about the Tech Force initiative and what OPM is driving with that is the buy-in from the private sector, I think, is unique to that program, something we haven't seen in previous programs. I think that's special. There was essentially calls out to the tech community and saying, look, it is a national imperative to have the very best technologists in government working on the problems that will impact American citizens. And because of the great leadership of the president, we were able to get so many companies to step up and say, yes, I'm willing to allow some of my employees to go do a tour doing government and be sure that when they come back on the other side, they won't be struggling to find a job wherever it may be. So I think this unique partnership and this sort of this coming together of the nation to understand that you can actually use technology to solve these huge problems for the American people is one of the highest callings. So we're very excited. The latest number I heard was over 35,000 Americans have put forward interest in participating in Tech Force. That's insane. That is incredible. That is something we should all be celebrating, this entire committee. The fact that we have so many great Americans that want to step in, move their families and their lives to D.C. to solve these problems for Americans is just incredible. And I really want to applaud OPM and the great team there for it. I think the second piece around personnel at agencies, I think, as any business thinks about the way that they can best optimize what they're trying to deliver, what's in their statutory mandate and what the president wants to execute, there's no reason not to relook holistically at how organizations function. And I think that's what a lot was done in the first term. And I think a lot can be said about sort of the misdirection of some of these agencies as we came into office. So I think it's the American people deserve leadership at these agencies that are willing to make the hard decisions in order to right-size these agencies for the objectives in their statutory mandate.
I guess you're saying that the NIST firings and rifts were essentially in support of the president's sort of goals when it comes to science technology, but I don't understand. Could you explain more why we should be firing 400 people at NIST?
I'm not familiar with the particular firings at NIST,
okay.
So I don't want to speak for the Secretary of Commerce or anyone there. But I do think broadly when it comes to the way that you think about your personnel and the team that you have, for anyone who's worked at a company or anywhere else, you want to field a team that can best execute on what you're trying to accomplish. And I think there was a very appropriate and look at how these organizations are structured and the way that we can best deliver results for everyday Americans.
We'll agree to disagree on that last part. But yeah, the second part is you've also been working on this, and I've been working on AI safety and AI sort of the risks and how to mitigate these risks for a long time. And it's not, some people may think that there's no work being done on this, but they're very wrong. There's actually a lot of work happening on this and has been for a long time. And I know you've been sort of supportive of that. Just very quickly, since we have a little bit of time left, how do you see the federal government's role in supporting the work that's happening when it comes to mitigating the risks of AI and finding the right balance between, not, let's say, full bans on products or things, promoting innovation while still also addressing the real concerns that people have?
Yeah, I think my short answer to that is I think there's a very important role for NIST and Casey to play in promulgating advanced metrology on model evaluation. And that is something that can be used across all industries when they want to deploy these models. You want to have trust in them so that when everyday Americans are using, whether it be medical models or anything else, they are comfortable with the fact that it has been tested and evaluated. And NIST has a very special place in being able to set standards around test and eval.
I yield back. Thank you.
Gentleman yields back. We'll hear next from